For former district governor, Roger Wickham, play America Beautiful.
Beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains' majesty above the fruited plains. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Everyone, please bow their heads. Rose, do you have the invocation?
May those assembled here today enjoy the many offerings of Rotary. May we abide by the rules we have established, those of trust, fellowship, and ethics, and may we place service above self in our daily endeavors. And may we always test ourselves and our efforts to be sure that they are the truth, good for all concerned, of benefit to mankind, and provide peace and understanding. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Roger. Alexa, do we have any guests visiting this morning?
Yes, we have our frequent visitor, Jeff Legg, Rotarian. And Sal has a guest today, Joseph Park. Joseph?
Joe Parks, he's a project representative of Penn Lighting, and we're ecstatically happy that he's here.
Thank you, Alexa. Is Mr. Fosselman available?
He is always available.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Fosselman, before you...
24/7, buddy.
Yeah.
Until September 14th.
Until they call your phone number and can't get you. But give me 1 second. This morning we're going to have to sing Happy Birthday a cappella, okay?
I don't think I know it. It's okay. All right, we have office birthdays. Alexa, would you please stand up if you have a birthday in August? Paul Sarver, Bobby Ross, I know is here. Would you please stand up? Eric Locke is here. He's got an August birthday. David Dunn, Sil Bertzel, please stand up. And Nicole. Nicole is here. Yeah, there she is. So we're going to sing happy birthday. Rick, start.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rotarians. Happy birthday to you. And they live down in our valley.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, a few announcements.
Every single, never heard my
Ladies and gentlemen, please, may I have your attention? We have a few announcements this morning. Gary Guthrie cannot be here. He has a community service committee meeting. There's 2 of them. Next week is for their planning for 2018-19. And August 16th will be planning for Be the Inspiration Day. So please, if anybody wants to join that committee, please come out either next week or the week after, or to both. Thank you very much. Golf committee is meeting again next Tuesday evening at 5:15 at 1033 South Cedar Crest, which is Campbell Rappel and Urisit's office. Please sell your Masters tickets. I don't know who has them out. We have about 220 out. Is that correct, Don?
Something like that, yeah.
How many do you have sold?
With ones that got turned in today and the others that I sold, we're probably at around 77, 78.
Okay. So please, this is our only major fundraiser of the year right now. So please, ask your friends, ask your neighbors, ask Steve to buy a ticket. Okay? He buys a lot of them, so a couple more won't hurt. August 14th, there's going to be a meeting of the youth committee at Willow Lane School. Darlene Scott will be in attendance. Darlene Scott is the district representative. Samantha McFarland, she is the school representative from Emmaus High School. So if you'd like to attend, you're all welcome. All right. Any announcements from the floor? Ralph.
We want to announce that we have 2 full boxes overflowing of food and $90. Thank you all for participating.
Thank you all for doing that.
dues are due. I sent an email out late last night to the outstanding people, get your dues in.
Thank you, Jim. Bryce?
Just real quick, the newsletter got updated, but we decided to push the beef and beer event. Instead of October of this coming year, we pushed it out to April 25th, 2019. It allows more time to kind of sell tickets and really ramp this up. So we're trying to build a lot of momentum to have this to be like second to the golf outing, but another big fundraiser for the foundation and the club. So FYI, it pushed out to spring of 19, and you know, I'll keep you posted.
Thank you, Bryce. All right, any other, Mark, Mike, sorry.
The Remembrance Garden brick that Carl Gingrich does bring in, and Bob Halsey has finally connected with his wife. We're going to do that next Thursday. We're going to do that installation next Thursday, immediately following the meeting.
Thank you, Mike. Close.
Iron Pigs tickets, I still have a couple left. Friday, August 24th, it's the last weekend of their regular season, and right now they're in first place. There will also be a fireworks night. They're $11 for the ticket. We're all together in one area. So, see me, I have the tickets here. Okay.
Thank you, though. I have my $2 for calling you mister.
$2 for calling Bruce a mister.
Yeah, really.
It's gotta be for the whole day. I already budgeted $50 for this month. Okay, that's it. For fines from you. Yeah, I know. All right.
Maybe I'll just do another plug for golf real fast.
Please.
Sure. While I'm standing. Just so everybody knows, we're really ramped up for probably our best tournament ever. We got 8 more golfers this morning, so we're approaching the 80 mark already, and we're still 5 weeks away from this thing. We do need to sell more Masters tickets. I think I'm the winner right now at 25. Bert?
Gain on you.
Okay, good. We're thinking, you know, my goal's 50, so I don't know if you want to try to match that, you know, before you take the run down the river.
That's what I sold last year, but I might not get it.
All right, so guys, they're easy sell. The tournament's one of the best tournaments out there. If you know golfers or anything, we'd really love your support. So let's make it the best one ever.
Thank you, Steve. All right, any other announcements? Hearing of none, I'll go on to the raffle. Who has the raffle? Sure.
Okay, 5635729. So 729 for the last 3.
Larry.
Yes, I am.
This is the number.
707.
Thank
718. 718.
This lessens the fines this morning, right, Don? That lessens the fines this morning, right?
No, that's going right to Raleigh.
All right.
Thank you.
Use that.
All right, Sergeant at Arms, you're up. No, I'm gone. But I do want to say one thing. I want you to be really, before you ask people who didn't wear their Paul Harris Award, would you please make sure that they can open their email first? We had some issues with Club Runner this week. Well, no, JP, you can't use that, okay? So please keep that in mind when you do that.
All right, who's not wearing the Paul Harris Award that can't open their email?
Well, I think we have to excuse Gary too, because he never opens his email.
All right, today you're supposed to be wearing your Paul Harris Award. So you owe me $2 if you're not wearing it. It's that simple. I'd like you to know I have my own issue of East Penn Press arriving to me weekly, so I can make sure that nobody's in there. But I'm also, I believe the phrase is trolling, because you're friending me on Facebook, or I might get some emails from you. So for some over-exuberance for a former rock star, Chris, you're gonna owe me $2. You gotta tone it down on Facebook for how you like that man. Okay?
Me?
Yes, you do. Just gotta settle down. How do you appreciate Rod Stewart? Okay? Just
All right.
And while I'm looking, a pet peeve of mine is smelling people. So while I'm looking on Facebook, I recommend, okay, that you use spell check, read it before you hit send, or else it will be financial concerns for you at another time.
Don, you're pretty high maintenance. I might have to unfriend you.
JP.
Present.
And Judge, Doug, could you guys please stand?
Wait a minute, no plan.
No, you'll
But Bob Kohler for letting them go in your closet to get these guys.
I think JP has to demonstrate buttons.
Buying buttons just fine, thank you.
I always wonder what was underneath the robe.
This isn't it, don't worry.
But I can vouch, I've seen him in the parkway running with a jacket.
Can we please know what not to wear?
I'm unfriended. Anybody else want unfriended?
Thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have a pen on? Yeah. All right. You guys are amazing. You like hide them, so I have to really get into your personal space.
So I gave you $2 for not wearing my Paul Harris, but I just got my thing at 11:22 p.m. and I'm going to tell you what the words are. It says encouraged. So the next time you put in the newsletter, you have to wear it. That's the truth. Encouraging someone is not doing it.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please. We have to get through this, okay? Come on.
I'll unfriend her too. Let's go rank a happy dollar.
Just, it's nice to be back in Mexico. I'm glad to be here.
I have $5. I read the newsletter and missed the Paul Harris. I think I have to put Aaron. This is sort of an announcement. You might want to say a little prayer. One of our club presidents at Central Bucks Rotaries, husband was in an automobile accident on Saturday and suddenly died. So I'm and then I have $3 because that's all I have left because you won't see me for the next couple of weeks because I'm doing club visits, but then we do get to go to England. So.
Yeah. Cindy, how many pens did you give out? 4.
To Allentown West, I gave out 4. To our club.
Here.
Our club.
Here, I'm reimbursing you.
The club. To our club, I gave out more because we have more members. It has nothing to do with who the best club is and who the next best club is.
Well, I just want to say that was probably one of the best district governor's books I heard. We didn't get into the weeds. You had everybody excited and you got some pens. Thanks again.
I'd just like to acknowledge the fact that we have 2 rows in the midst of holy storm here today.
Other happiness, JP.
I don't know if you're finding for the pin or not, so I have $7 because I have a bunch of things that I'm happy for. My dad was...
What's this on your chest? Hiding Allstate.
I'm not hiding anything. So my dad was 85 years old on Saturday, so we're very happy for that. A lot of you know him. I got to have a date night with my wife last night. Went to Pennsylvania Shakespeare, saw Henry II. Not one of the better known plays, but an outstanding production. Really, really enjoyed it quite a bit. We came home, the power was off. Last time power was off, it was off for 3 days, but it came back on at 12:15, so I'm very happy. And quickly, since everyone's giving me a hard time about buttoning the coat, went to the doctor yesterday. I'm 2 pounds lighter than I was in February. He had a resident in training there, and she came in, and she keeps taking my blood pressure, and she's like, it's 121 over 81, 119 over 79, and she kept doing it, and he says, why don't you come out and say, you think you're making a mistake because it shouldn't be that low because I'm so fat. She runs out of the
I have $5 happy dollars for 5 great days I spent in Antigua, and then at the end of this month, we're heading up to Alaska for a week.
I have a happy dollar because it was my goal once I joined Rotary in Emmaus to sit at each table during my stay, however long that is. And Gordon this morning talked me into breaking into one of the 2 tables that I think are the hardest to sit at. So I'm happy for Gordon.
And he only had to take my seat to do it.
Don't get used to it.
I got 14 happy dollars leaving for Italy tomorrow for 14 happy days. The Piedmont region, northwest, and there's a lot of wine there, so less than when I get back.
I've got 2 happy dollars. John failed to realize that I have been away in Maryland this weekend, and I visited a winery, a meadery, and a distillery. And at the winery, I actually won $250 of my choice to give to a charity.
Nice.
So that was good. Yeah.
Very good. Lexa?
I have 2 happy dollars. I was happy when I read an article in the Rotarian talking about using the public health model for the prevention of violence instead of a penal or justice model. And the article excited me, and I want to find some people that want to talk to me or with me about it. Jim, I already collared him. So if you read that article, want to talk about it, I'd be happy to get your name, and we'll find a place, a date to do that.
I have a happy dollar. I did, in fact, open the trumpet and read it, and I just missed the Paul Harris
encouragement.
Encouragement, yes, thank you. That's a good word, Joanne. Yeah. But I was happy to see that Rick had posted a photo of a bus, the back of a bus that had an add-on for Rotary International, and also had the 4-way test on there, and I thought that was really cool. So.
Yeah, that's great.
I have a picture here of Gary Warbach, the side of the Rotary Club Allentown West banner. Okay? See this, Gary?
Yes.
Saying Allentown West is the best club? It says it right here. It says, yeah, it says,
Yes.
Gary saying that this is the best club.
That came from Bill Weber. Surprise, surprise.
I have to say it's not the truth. He didn't say that. Okay, he was standing next to me. But a couple Allentown West people did say that.
We were just having fun. Okay, anything else?
Yeah, Roger, you had an article in the paper?
Yeah, that's big money.
All right. And I have $5 because after this meeting, I'm heading to the Jersey Shore for 5 days.
All right.
Very good. Okay, without any further ado, Steve, would you please introduce our guest?
Good morning, everyone. First, I just
just want to compliment Don Blows. I think you're doing a great job. You're hitting your stride, and I'm sure our Sergeant at Arms Emeritus is proud of his apprenticeship. So I've been reaching out to our new members. We've had a good couple handfuls come in the last year, and I'm putting pressure on them to come in and do their classification talk. So I tried to make August classification talk month, but for those of you who haven't done your classification talk yet, it is a great way for the club to get to know who you are. So have fun with it, be different, do something weird, just like our classification talk is going to be today, because it's going to be from Salvatore Verrastro. Verrastro.
Hey, Rick, before you order, Paul Harris?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Before you start. Okay,
No, it's good.
How's-
That's just a jazz.
It's $10.
It's encouraged. I didn't have it on my agenda. We have one more thing to do, and it's my fault. Yeah, sounds fine.
Thank you, Rick. Sorry about that, guys. Didn't want to upset the apple cart here. Jim, if you want to come and help me. My pleasure again to present Paul Harris recognitions. As I've indicated in the past, this was created in 1957 to recognize those people that donate $1,000 or more to the Rotary Foundation. And as you donate the additional incremental $1,000, you get an additional Paul Harris. And I'll quickly read through the names of those four, if they would please come up here. First one is Rory King, who's getting his first Paul Harris. For those that have Paul Harris's and multiple ones, you'll remember that that first one is very, very significant. John Chiska is a Paul Harris +1. John, if you'd like to come up here. And Alicia is a Paul Harris +4. Alicia, if you'd like to come up here. And Jeff Boyer is a Paul Harris +7. Wow. So as I said, this is a recognition for donations to the foundation. As always, any donations to the foundation are appreciated, but particularly for those who rise to the level of the $1,000 increment. So on behalf of the Rotary Foundation, it's my pleasure to acknowledge and recognize each of you for your continuing support of the foundation, and more importantly, the things the foundation does for the world in terms of the many, many things that we've seen in programs over the years of what Rotary does throughout the world. So again, thank you very much. Just one quick comment for Rory, who's getting the first one. He gets the certificate. He also gets the medallion as well as the pin. The other three that are multiple Paul Harris's get a pin. That's it. Thank you.
So for you folks who are new here, and we do the E-Ray every Rotarian every year, one way to get a Paul Harris is to do the $20, $15 at the table for your dues, or you can do $13, not do the raffle. But anyway, take the $5 and put it to E-Ray, and you can accumulate that. So you get $1,000, it may take 7 years, but you can do it like that. So don't forget, giving to the foundation can be as little as $5 or as much as you want. So, Sal, would you like to continue your talk for my mistake?
No worries. I promise I won't keep you longer. And why isn't there a picture on the screen? Oh, she's good. No source. It was up there before I finished.
The Russians got us again.
This won't work without photos.
I went through Christina's Facebook.
It did.
Steve. Reboot the projector.
Yep. Just unplug the projector and plug it in. Plug it, turn it on and off. Well, just unplug it. It's easier. I guess I gotta do this as acapella, as they say. This was a lot harder to do than I thought, because I'm not used to talking about myself, so I apologize, and I'm incredibly nervous. But, so I tried to, of course, I heard what Steve said about doing classification. I'm not here to entertain you, but share some things in my life. What I thought I would do is try to tie a thread to things that got me here to Rotary, which I thought might interest you more than anything else, but hopefully these pictures come up. Anyway, my grandparents on both sides of my family were immigrants from Italy, and they both settled in northeast Pennsylvania, in the Dunmore area, which is where I'm from. Nice little town, and I grew up in Dunmore until I was 13, and I thought that was home and I'd never leave, and I'll get to that later, but the nice thing about Dunmore, it reminds me of Emmaus a lot, and that's what attracted me to Emmaus when I eventually got here. Nice little small town, everybody knows everybody, real quaint. It's a people town, it's a community town. But anyway, so both my families were really poor. I was poor growing up and didn't know it. I didn't realize we were poor until I was like 8, when I realized other kids had things and we didn't have them. But I think it was a benefit growing up that way when you don't have everything for me. And I tried to instill that in my children today, that it's not about material things and it's about family. And I'm really close to my entire family. I wanted to just share a couple things. My grandfather on my mom's side was hit by a city bus and died from injuries and got no compensation. It always bothered me, but that was back he actually died right before I was, shortly after I was born, so it was in the mid-50s, yeah, 1950s. My dad was in the Air Force, which is a thread I wanted to tie in. Him and my mom got married, and he got stationed in Smoky Hill Air Force Base, if you're in the Air Force, which is in Kansas, and near Salina, Kansas, and that's a thread I wanted to tie. So my parents actually lived out there. So growing up, my dad took a lot of slide pictures, and he had slides of Kansas. We would show them, so I knew Kansas like the back of my hand when I was a little kid, not knowing even where it was, and that came back to haunt me later on, 30 years later, which I'll share with you. My mom was trained as a seamstress, and she was great. She worked in a factory in the sweatshops for years and could sew anything. To this day, she still mends my clothes a lot, believe it or not, to the dismay of my wife, by the way. And she made a lot of our clothes because we were poor, and because she made them in the factory, she could make them for us. So she would make anything you wanted, she would make for us. Let's see. So my parents settled in Dunmore after. We're not getting any pictures here.
You might have to do a restart on your laptop.
Let's pause. Just completely restart. But when it works, it's great. Yeah. Shut it down. See what happens. Yeah. I'm sorry, I won't keep you here past 9, I promise. Let's see, I'll go through the pictures then quickly. I have 4 sisters, so I'm right in the middle. I'm the only boy, which is great. Actually, my older sisters are twins. My younger sisters are a little bit younger than me, but in 1969, at a life-changing event, it's kind of like one of those black years. My grandfather, who I'm named after, died of a heart attack. He worked for the Erie Railroad in Erie and traveled back and forth from Dunmore, Pennsylvania, to Erie on the railroad every week. And that's how hard of a life he had. Anyway, he died of a heart attack, and then that same year my dad lost his job. I had a really good job in Dunmore. He was a steel fabricator. And the great thing about it is we ended up moving to Bethlehem. He got a good job with the Bethlehem Fabricators in Southside Bethlehem. And that was a life-changing event for me. Worst thing that ever happened to me at the time, but in hindsight, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. So ended up.
I want to interrupt. I do want to interrupt. Can you give your password again?
You don't know it?
Yeah, that's
Still not seeing it, huh?
Steve, can you just hold up the laptop
There you go.
Pass it
I had some good pictures for you too.
I could do that.
What's that?
I could just stand.
Oh, no.
Walk around with a laptop like a van.
I could do it. Freestyle. All right, come back next week, Steve.
You're tech savvy, you know how to get it.
Mark's closer.
Well, got the IT guy, we got an IT guy and staff. Anyway, I'll just share a few things with you that won't need pictures. We moved to Bethlehem, I was 13, ended up going to Freedom High School, which, and Joanne was a year younger than me. I knew Joanne, she was a hot cheerleader, by the way. I can say that. So, I played football, had a great time, I loved it, and I realized moving was the best thing. And a couple things happened at Freedom, which I'll share with you, that ties into Rotary. So I'm sitting at graduation, and I was a good student. I wasn't going to get, I didn't get straight A's, but I did pretty well. And two things happened which changed my life. One was, at graduation, I was sitting there, and I got all the awards, and then they're giving out this award for altruism, and they call my name. I'm like, whoa. And I got up and I received it. My mom was just thrilled to death. And I didn't even, I knew what altruism was, but I didn't know I was going to get the award. No one ever told me that. So I'll come back to that in a second. So then also, when I was a junior, I took some drafting classes at Freedom in woodshop and stuff, and I really excelled at it. My counselor, Mrs. Concilio, was awesome. And she said, you you really should be an architect. And I said, I'd love to do that. She said, well, there's no architectural classes here at Freedom, but they have in Votech. And in Bethlehem, at Freedom and Votech, they're only not even 100 yards distance. So she illegally gave me a pass every day. And I'd walk from Freedom to Votech and take drafting classes at the end of the day. I actually snuck out of school. At that time, you couldn't leave school. And people caught on to that because the people in the study halls were going, where are you going, So anyway, after she did, it was a test. I was a test student. And today they call it the Flex program. I was the model student. It worked great. I did it for 2 years. And decided when I was going to college, I got accepted at Penn State and Cincinnati, and I just wasn't feeling it. And I didn't have a lot of money. We were poor. So I went to NCC because I had, I believe in fate. And 3 people told me about the program there. And I had a really good picture of John Michael. If anybody knows architect John Michael, lived here in Emmaus. Actually, I'm sorry, Kunji, but Emmaus was his home. And I went there, and he was my mentor, and took me under his wing, and really taught me a lot of things. And I still owe him tremendously today. So, but interestingly, in my first semester there, he said to me, you've got to go see Falling Water in Western Pennsylvania. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's Frank Lloyd Wright's Falling Water. It's not Falling Waters, there's no S. If you do anything in your life, go to Falling Water. You got to go out there. And it changed my life. It was a total inspiration. I spent the whole day there taking pictures, and it really did change my life. So I graduated from NCC, and I was looking for colleges. And at the time, there was no internet, and I did a lot of investigation at the library. And Kansas State kept coming up in the top 10 architectural schools. Again, year after year after year, and they're still in the top 10. So I decided I was going to go there. And there's another reason I went there. And I had a slide up here that had the number 500 on it. And what do you think that was? That was my tuition for a semester. That was my out-of-state tuition for a semester. It was $200 more than in-state. So now you know why I went there. And plus it was unlimited credit, so I never took less than 21 credits for the 4 years I was there. I took advantage of it, and it was a great school. It was in the middle of nowhere. There's not a lot to do except for studying. And I did, and I excelled, and I loved it. I had gotten married in between there to my first wife, and not that I'm looking for a third one, trust me. So I got married in '79, graduated in '81, and so I'm sitting at graduation at Kansas State. My parents flew out. They had been to Kansas, right? And they loved it. They thought it was neat that I was there. So I'm sitting at graduation, in the architectural school, and they gave out a Donald L. Hollis Altruism Award, and they called my name. I was just totally flabbergasted. I had no idea. So after graduation, my mom comes up and she jumps on me. She's hugging me. She said she's so proud of me because I got that award. I said, Mom, I just got a Bachelor of Architecture. She said, that doesn't matter, So that's what kind of parents I have. So the economy in 1981 was not the best here in Pennsylvania, and I really did want to come home. My wife did not want to come back to Pennsylvania. That's why we're not together anymore. And I moved to Fort Worth, Texas to get experience. As an architecture, like law school, you need a lot of experience. You have to do internships. And I went to work in Texas, and I worked for the largest architectural firm in the world. Yes, I said the world. They were called CRS, and they were pretty big. They had hundreds of thousands of people. In the Fort Worth office, we had 180, and that was a small office. But I got a lot of experience. I liked the experience. I hated Texas, and I hope nobody here's from Texas. It was hot. Winter in Texas is January 8th. The rest of it is summer. I hated it. I couldn't stand it. So we had my first child, and I have a picture of him. She was born down there. She's a Texan, and we moved back here. I was unemployed, sold my house, moved back unemployed, and I interviewed at 3 places here, and I met Robert Spillman at Spillman Farmer, and his greatest guy. He passed away a couple years ago. He was my mentor. He took me on. Sorry. He asked me, he said, would you like to write specifications? And I said, sure, I'd really like to do it. And I told him I'd be the best spec writer he ever met, and I tried to. So I did, and so I was there about 3 years, and John Michael calls me up, and he was teaching he's a professor at Northampton, and he said, hey, would you like to teach a class? And I said, sure. And he said, okay. So 14 years later, I'm teaching classes 2 nights a week, and I was second in command at Northampton until I left. He took me under his wing as well, and so I taught there for 14 years and 4 years at Lafayette College. And I really do enjoy teaching a lot. It's a lot of fun, and I get a lot out of it. I had 2 more children with my first wife, and unfortunately, woke up one day, realized my wife doesn't love me anymore, and our marriage fell apart. And that was the toughest time of my life, really dark days. But it turns out, again, like anything else, you got to do what you got to do. So, and that was in the mid-90s. And then I met my wife, Roxanne, who's from Emmaus. And I was like Emmaus. I, playing around in this area, and I said, she said she'd like to live here. And I said, okay, it works for me, because we're talking about getting married. And one day I'm jogging up in Upper Milford, and I found this property, which I had pictures of. I wanted to show you. And this bare property, which was really steep, and no one wanted to buy it, and I saw the vision in it, and so we bought it together, and we built our dream house, which is, I wanted to show you, because people often ask me, what's your favorite piece of architecture? Of course, it's my house. Not because I think it's great, but it was for me and us, and it was built for my kids and I, not for anybody else. You might not like it, but we like it. So that was one of my passions is my house. And I meant to tell you, when I was growing up in Dunmore, my dad was a carpenter, and he taught me how to use tools, and that's how I got hands-on training, which was great. And he taught me a lot. So when I built my own house, I built 40% of it myself. I subbed a lot of things out, but I did it myself. When I was growing up, my house was always under construction, always. If there wasn't scaffolding around the house, somebody stole it. So when I moved in with Roxanne and we were building the house, she said, I don't want this house under construction all the time. And I said, that's not the way it's going to be. This is a labor of love. So we built the biggest shell we could afford. We took all the money and built the biggest shell, and then I finished it as we went along. Actually, I still to this day, I shouldn't say that, I have a partial occupancy. I never got full occupancy. They never came back, so I just let it go. Oh yeah, don't tell anybody that. I guess we're not going to have pictures.
So I had to blame Sal on this. Who plugged this in here? Did you plug it into the thing, or did?
Oh, is it in the wrong slot?
It was in the VGA.
It was in the out.
The out.
Oh, that would help, right?
So can you? One last.
Sorry, he's an architect. That's okay.
How do you shut this down?
No. See what happens. I'll have to run through slides here, but I'm not going to keep you late. So I'm going to just tell you a couple things. Oh, again? You just want to know what it is.
Wow, that's terrible. Oh, that's why I was going to correct this.
It happens.
That should be on the screen. I don't think it's going to work. This is not how classifications are supposed to go, right?
Doing great.
So I have, I'll just fill in a couple other things. My passions now are, I still always like photography. Raising my children is my passion. I think I told you before I grow fruit trees. I have about 50 of them. I really like it. It's the hard work. I'm not great at it, but I'm learning. I still like a lot of woodworking and trying to be the best father I can to I have 2 more children. Roxanne and I have 2 children, because when we got married, I said, I'm not getting any younger. So if we're gonna have kids, we gotta do it right now. And so we had a girl, Deanna, and my son Blaze. They're right now 16 and 14. She's a cheerleader on Emmaus, which is great. She made it as a freshman. I'm really proud of her. And she's the kind of person, she gets an A- on a test and she comes home screaming it's the end of the world. And then my son, Blaze, plays, he's at Dyer, he plays soccer. He's really good at it. They won the state championship. He plays for Parkland, because Laura Mack didn't have a team for him, so but he's excelling, but he will try out for Emmaus. Next year at this time, I'll be a nervous wreck. So I really love this group, and so I want to thank Bruce Fosselman for sponsoring me. I had been asked twice to join Rotary, once in Bethlehem and then here in Emmaus, and I didn't understand what Rotary was about. I got to tell you, I really didn't understand that you were about altruism. And when I got here, I was just blown away. I was really attracted to this group immediately. And I compliment you all for that. And that's when the altruism came back to me. It really, when I got in this room, I was like, wow, this is really great. I gravitated to it immediately. And I just compliment you all for what you do. And I want to be a part of it, so I love this group. And one thing I do notice, and I want to compliment you on, when you all walk through that door, you check your egos. It's amazing in this room, well, except for Steve. Including Steve. Everybody, you just come in here and you're all on equal grounds, and we talk about the things that are going on every day. And my motto in life, I adopted it from a general in the Army in Australia who said, the standard you walk past is the standard you accept. And I teach my children that you can't walk by atrocities. You got to say something. And you got to call people out on it. If you haven't been reading the papers or watching news, you got to say something. Right or wrong, you got to say something and question things. And I teach my kids that every day. And I'll tell you a real quick story. Sometimes it comes back to bite you, but my daughter questioned the bishop on a moral issue. I was proud of her, but I was like, oh my God. And he just wouldn't answer the question. And I said to her, wow, she's just thinking for herself, and I give her all the credit in the world. So I am so sorry. I had some really good pictures for you.
Could you email it to all of us? Or?
I could. I have some pictures. I'm the guy in the family that collects all the pictures from everybody, old pictures. And I just found a picture from 1908 with my grandfather in it, a passport picture. A motley crew. I mean, you look at that and go, oh my God, this guy's in the mafia. And, they weren't, of course. My family's not like that at all. They're very religious and happy-going people, but the pictures are crazy.
Sal, you email it to me?
I could.
I'll build a story.
I could do
I think
that.
we should have a Verrastro.
Yeah,
Just like come in and you'll have your pictures all over.
Oh, sure. But I do want to close and say I want to thank you all for making me feel incredibly welcome here, and I look forward to many years of service above self and expanding altruism. So you're a great group. I appreciate it. Hi, Dale.
Yes, quick question. If you're gonna email out the pictures, will you include the ones of Joanne?
Seriously? I have pictures of Joanne. They're from the yearbook, and we're older, so they're black and white. That's right. That's right. That's right. So we had fun. Right.
As you were talking about your history, one of the things that you glossed over, I was very happy to hear you gloss over it in a very minor way, was a university that we have here at University Park. And I'll tell you, I'm so sick and tired of the blue and white. I just was pleased to hear the way you handled it.
And no offense, we have a I will say competition in our office. We have about 25 people, and there's 5 of us from Kansas State and 4 from Penn State. we have a rivalry going on. But Penn State has an excellent program. I think they're great, and there's just a good competition. I just paid less for my education. I actually think I got a better education technically than they did, but it's a great school, no question about it. And
Well, we'd rather hear you talk about Pitt a little.
the Pitt, yeah. Thank you for having me. Sorry about the photos.
Thank you very much, Sal. So we would please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,